behind the glass is one Mr. Seth Williams. Good morning, Seth.
Good morning.
How's it going over there, Seth?
It is fantastic.
Very good. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
It's a lovely day.
Yes, I hope you're doing well back there.
And I'm excited about our guest.
That's right. And our guest, because it is a Tuesday, of course, we're talking about former Congressman Jim Renacci. Jim, thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank you for having me, as always.
Yeah, so I'm excited to pick your brain on stuff because there's been a lot made of the different polls that have come out, and I notice the term that keeps coming up, and Seth and I, we talk about it off air, and actually, before we got started, I got a text on my phone asking me to ask you about the Democratic Socialists and what that is and just how many there are, and is the groupthink, and how much of a threat is it to the Republicans and to the Democrat, because that seems to be the boogeyman right now.
So what's interesting, and I was telling you this a little bit before we came on air, is that when I was in Washington, you had these talking points that you always had to talk about. And if you strayed away from the talking points, your staff would say, hey, the Republican whatever chairman called and said, you strayed away from your talking points. Well, let's face it, the Democrat Socialist is now the Republican talking point.
Yeah.
And that's why you hear it so much. And you hear it. And by the way, Republicans are good at this, so I'm not taking anything away from them. At the last election, the talking points were transgenders. Democrats support transgender rights, and Democrats don't, they support illegal immigration.
Yeah.
So that was how President Trump won, because you just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. I have some Democrat friends that go, I don't support transgenders. Well, and I don't support illegal immigration. And of course, but the talking point builds it.
Yeah.
And Republicans are good at this, and that's one of the reasons we win a lot, because we are good at it. But,
right.
The big one now is Democrat Socialists. And let's face it, it's not that big of a group. They're very prominent in urban areas. They're very prominent in cities. But when you look at their numbers, they started out about 20 years ago at about 6,000 people. They grew to about 120,000 people when Bernie Sanders ran for president.
Right.
And then they've dropped now down to about 90,000. Now compare that to the Tea Party. The Tea Party grew to almost 2 million people.
Wow.
So you got about 40 million voters, 2 million people, and the Tea Party got things done.
Yeah.
Because they didn't worry about elections as much as Democrat Socialists do. They worried about policy. And remember, I was in Congress during the Tea Party. The Tea Party used to always say to me, we got to get the debt down. We got to do this. And you listen to them. Democrat Socialists are really about elections. And here's a real big point. So our PAC played in the Mondami race. Mm-hmm. We tried to stop Mondami. And we did polls before, polls after. And here's what we learned. People didn't support Mondami because he was a Democrat Socialist. They supported him because he was different.
Yeah.
They wanted change. And then if you turn the polls to, well, what do people really want? 78% of them say they want something different in our government. They're tired of the normal Democrat, the normal Republican, what's going on in Washington, what's going on in our cities, what's going on in our counties. So they were just voting for change. And that's what you're seeing. People want change. We're seeing it in Michigan now too. People are like, I don't want the establishment anymore. I want change.
Yeah.
And again, that's what the Tea Party did as well.
Ironically enough, I was registered to vote at a Tea Party rally at the Cuyahoga County Falls Fairground. So that at the Cuyahoga County Fairground. So that's funny when you said that's the first thing I think of, because the Tea Party, it was big. And I remember they were holding the rallies. They had the stages set up. They had celebrities coming out, and they were all a part of it. But I think you make a good point when it is about the change. And I think I don't know that people are realizing that. Like there are a lot of people, they're unhappy. I mean, myself, I look at some of these policies and just how expensive things are. Like, I get mocked a lot because I care about the debt. At my age, we care about the debt because eventually it's going to have to be paid. And we can't get houses because the houses are being bid up. I was watching a video of an auction for a house the other day. It started at $205. They go, all right, bidding's going to start $205. Next thing I hear, $450. I'm sorry, $450. It ended up going. The final bid was $600,000. They started at $205, and we're just seeing everything become more expensive, and we're being told that everything's down. I don't see everything down. Like my question, people get mad at me. They go, well, inflation's down. From when? We talking last week? We talking 20 years ago? Like, from when? Like, when is inflation down? So I think when you talk about the change, it's almost the Trump effect, where the Republican Party, they were used to the stiff, absolutely, thank you for having me here, thank you so much. And then Trump comes along and he's going, you're an idiot, shut up. And that we feel that way, and we're noticing it's that different aspect of things. So I almost think, when people bring up the Democratic Socialist stuff, I make the jokes, so I'm going to run as a Republican fascist, just the dumb jokes like that, because that's how it sounds to me. But I think what we're seeing is because the left, they lost their identity for a while. And it was just all wrapped up in Obama and all these different things. And they had the narratives of, well, you want men and women's sports, and you believe in this and this and this and all these different things. And they're starting to find that identity again. And it's through things with the Democratic Socialists, because you do have somebody coming forward like Mondani. And I didn't want him to win, but he's out there and he's going, you deserve to be able to pay your rent, and you deserve to be able to get food at a decent price. Those aren't crazy talking points. We also say them. They just have a different way of going about it. And I think that's the scary part, because for me, the scariest part about the whole thing is it just gives momentum, as little as it might be, to that idea of bigger government. And I can't stand big government.
Yeah, what's going to be interesting, November is going to be a turning point. Either Republicans are going to hold on to their positions or they're going to lose. Now, the sentiment is Republicans are lose, because they're not talking about how do we get you to pay your rent? How do we get beef prices down? How do we get gasoline down? Republicans are just talking about, oh, you don't know what you're saying anymore. We're doing great. We're doing this. I mean, I hear that all the time when I talk to the strong MAGA Republicans.
Yeah.
Now, I will also tell you, and I've had so many meetings. I was at a lunch meeting yesterday with two Republicans, and I don't know how we got off the topic because we weren't talking about politics. But they both said, hey, I voted for Trump. I'll never vote for him again. And every Republican I hope loses because. And I'm thinking, wow.
Whoa.
But that's what the sentiment is. But they're quiet Republicans.
Yeah.
Now, we'll see. See, I don't think they're going to vote in November. I think the two people that I spoke with yesterday are just not going to vote.
Yeah.
But they're tired of this. They're tired. And, it's comical because we also learned in Washington, if you say something enough, people believe it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when Trump says we're winning the war, we're winning the war, we're winning the war,
we're winning the war.
We're winning the war.
Right.
And the question is, are we really winning? Gas prices are up. Cost of living is up. Have we really? Iran seems to be firing bombs still back at us. Every time we think we're winning, they fire another one at us. Are we really winning? I don't know. So the question is, did we destroy their country? There'll be some say, yes, we did. There'll be others say, well, maybe we did, maybe we didn't. I think in the end, talking points don't mean anything to voters. What really is important to the voter, and I just heard this yesterday in a summary, they are worried about how they pay their bills. And when I hear people say, oh, well, they got to cut their costs, they're cutting their costs as much as they can.
Yeah.
Well, they shouldn't have two cars. Well, how does a husband and wife get to work with one car?
Can I tell you my favorite? And I hear this a lot. God forbid, twice a week, I go to Starbucks and I'll get an iced green tea. It's $4. It's Trenta iced green tea light ice. That's my order. $4. It's that $4 to $8 a week. That's why I don't have the $50,000 down payment for a house, Jim. Did you know that?
Yeah, well,
that's how that works.
We hear that, and I think Republicans have to wake up because we are going to lose. We now have the middle class because of what Trump did.
Yeah,
but we are losing.
We got to keep them.
Yeah, we're losing them.
Yeah, I notice I see that disconnect a lot. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you more about the affordability stuff because there's some stuff I want to bring up there. This is the Jake Underwood Show. We have Jim Renacci here in studio. I see your text coming in. We'll answer those. If you want to text in, the number's 866-525-0955. We'll be back right after this. And, you can watch us there when you search the Jake Underwood Show. Of course, here in studio, we have one Mr. Jim Renacci, and he's answering questions. We're just discussing some things, and I have a text for you. This one came in right as we came back. It says, the rise of communism is probably due to the college indoctrination system, but that doesn't alarm Renacci. It's all bad things that the Republicans are doing that get his attention. Because, and real quick, because I hear that a lot. They also, they say the same thing about me a bit. They only focus on the bad things. And I don't know, for me, that's not necessarily true. Now, I do know that I asked questions and I aggravated the guy who's running for governor, the candidate. I didn't mean to do that. But at the same time, when I have dozens of people coming up to me and they're going, I'm not voting. this is not a presidential year, so numbers are already going to be down. We found that out in Medina last year. People don't vote when the president's not on the ballot, so it's going to be a down year, and we're going to see people not show up. Then on top of it, you have the hardcore conservatives coming to me going, I can't vote for this guy unless I find out this, and what was his role when he was bragging about, talking to Houston and all these different guys and having this influence and this and this and this, and just asking the question. So I don't think it's necessarily that it's only the bad things that Republicans are doing that get your attention, because that's not the case with me. But
well, here's a simple answer. Republicans are in power. They have the House, they have the Senate, they have the presidency. In Ohio, they have the House, they have the Senate, they have the governor.
Yeah.
So am I going to complain about the Democrats who have no power to do anything, but we're going to worry about them? They have no power.
Yeah.
We have a supermajority in the House and Senate. Well, let's complain about the Democrats. We have a majority in the House and Senate in the United States Congress. Let's complain about the Democrats. No, I'm worried about my grandkids. I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about what's going on. I left the House of Representatives because I know that we weren't doing it right when I was there, and I was upset with it. And then the Democrats took control. All right, so now the Republicans are in control, but I'm going to complain about the Democrats. That makes no sense. Go back to when the Democrats are in control. Look at my social media, and you'll see I was complaining. I was going to use a different word. Complaining about Joe Biden. I was complaining about the Democrat House and what they were doing. They were in power. I love these Republicans today that say, well, quit complaining about the Republicans. You're going to make them lose elections. No, the Republicans are going to lose their own elections because they're not talking about the issues that matter right now. They're defending a war that even President Trump didn't defend when he was running.
Yeah.
He said, we're going to get out of all these wars.
Right.
They're defending inflation when inflation's up over the last couple of years. They're defending meat prices, even though how can you defend this stuff? Let's just say the people in power are the ones you should be complaining about, whether you're a Republican or Democrat. Then we'll change our country.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And my issue is Republicans were supposed to, it's smaller. I want smaller government. I don't want to hear about bigger. The bigger the government, the smaller you are. And I talk about it a lot when we talk about, the flock cameras. I mean, that's the hot button issue right now, flock cameras and then AI data centers. But my concern is this, and I'd love to pick your brain on this. So it's not, my concern isn't what's happening right now. My concern is that, so let's say we put a flock camera on every corner. Americans that are 5 years old right now, 20 years from now, that's going to be normal to them. They're going to think it's normal for the government to just have cameras all over the place and watch you with whatever you do. They won't even know that freedom existed. That's my issue with it, because we always look out for the next 5 years, whether it's the national debt, housing market, whatever it might be. It's always a 5-year plan, and that hasn't worked for the last 50 years, but we keep doing it over and over and over again, where we might have to look at something and say, you know what, maybe we need a 10-year plan. Maybe we need a 15, 20, 50-year plan and actually plan things out so we can control it a little bit more and we can expect what's coming. But my biggest fear is that we're going to make all these changes and we're slowly eroding away the freedoms that the Constitution guarantees us. And it's going to get to the point 20, 30 years from now, people won't even know those freedoms existed.
Well, you're exactly right. And again, this is why we should speak up. Here's what was interesting. I'll go back to even that caller or that texter. Mm-hmm. When I was in Congress, when I came home, people were complaining at me. You just signed a bill that added money to the debt. You just signed a bill that took away our freedoms of security. You're terrible. So I listened.
Yeah.
And when I went back, I never signed a bill to increase the debt. We should be complaining to those that are in power. We shouldn't be accepting what they're doing. If they're not doing what's helping us as Americans, we should be telling them.
Yeah.
That's what the Tea Party was good at.
Right.
The Tea Party changed people. You go to Washington, you buy a house, I'm never going to elect you again. Whoa. Okay, well, I got to live down there. Well, you better not buy a house because we need you back here every week.
Yeah.
And we did. We came back every week. You go to Washington and you vote for any bill that raises the deficit, and I'm not going to vote for you. And then I would come back and they'd say, the Republican Party is voting for increasing the debt. Gets to the flock cameras. It just becomes normal.
Yeah.
And now we accept it.
Mm-hmm.
Republicans accept it. Well, it's a Republican Party. Hey, let's accept it.
Yeah.
No, we should accept what's right.
Yeah.
Whether it's a Republican or Democrat, That's what we are missing. I expected to be challenged every time I came back as a Republican on what we were doing. And now we have people who don't challenge the system.
And that's not to go into like the parties or anything, but that's kind of what the Republicans were supposed to do, because we want the smaller government. We're the ones that are supposed to question everything. Like, Republicans are the ones that people look at and they go, they're nuts. They're nuts because they think there's bad intentions behind every bit of government spending. And you're damn right I do. I don't agree with anything that the government wants to spend money on, because that's our money. It should be in our pocket, because we can determine what we need better than anyone. Ronald Reagan used to say that. The local municipalities, the local governments are going to be able to figure it out better than the bureaucracy that's going on in D.C. If you leave the money to us here, we're going to be able to do a better job. And I just see it. I just see it go. It climbs more and more and more, and it terrifies me, because, like I said, I just think of the future, and there's going to be a point in time where we got all these abandoned warehouses on farmland. Water might not be drinkable, but hey, don't worry, we got all the data that we need. and then we're gonna be looking around. There's gonna be cameras everywhere, and you're gonna look at. I'm gonna have to look at my kid and go, "This is freedom." That's not freedom. That's not freedom at all.
Well, I will tell you another thing I've learned, and your listeners can agree or disagree. We have problems: local government, county government, state government, and federal government. COVID was the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
We pumped so much money into our communities. And what did Republican mayors and Republican commissioners and Republican governors do? They spent it. They spent it on stuff we're never going to see again. They caused inflation because of the spending. And now that's why your house is so expensive. That's why you can't buy a house.
Right.
Building materials. I mean, all of this because the government got involved and pumped trillions of dollars into the system. And we're still it's going to take years to ever recover from that.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, and I understand we need to question our government, and I understand I want Republicans and Democrats, I want the country to succeed. But the moment that we question our side, and I have a side, I'm concerned things aren't going to change, and all we're doing is making things worse because we're going to end up losing in the long run. I'm afraid to question because I think it hurts us. And I want it to change, but I don't think it's ever going to change. I think we're way too far gone. Is that true?
Well, it's funny you said that, because here's the way I would answer that. That mentality is why we have a system that nobody likes. Republicans don't like it. Democrats.
I agree.
I mean, everybody can say, oh, you know what? We're so much better off than we would be under Democrat. Really? I mean, prices are up. Look at the price of a car. Look at the price of a house. It's this because government, and here's what it does. It switches back. Biden was horrible, definitely horrible. So we switch back to Trump. Now we're going to switch the House and the Senate. Now, I may be wrong. I mean, people say, well, you always say that. Well, look, the trends show we're going to lose the House and Senate. We're going to go back to having Democrats. No, why don't we have the right people in control? I mean, and the right person is a Republican who understands that the people in this country are hurting and admits it. I mean, it's one of the reasons I like Max. Max comes on your show. Max says the truth.
Yeah.
And people don't like him, but he's saying that. He's even saying, "Hey, our speakers bad. Some of these bills." He came up. I heard him on Monday. He said that the Save America Act is so diluted.
Yeah.
And I agree that it's worthless.
Yeah.
But we got the Save America Act passed in the House. No, you didn't. You got some version of it that has no bite to it, but you're going to claim you do. All talking points, and that's the problem.
Yeah. It's the Jake Underwood Show. We're going to take a break, get a check on traffic. We have some texts coming in. We'll read those when we come back right after this.
AM 1420, The Answer.
Welcome back to the Jake Underwood Show. Final half an hour of the Jake Underwood Show right here, AM 1420, The Answer, 102.9 FM. You can watch us on X, Rumble, and YouTube. We do have some text messages to get to. And let's get to those. We have one that just came in. It said, so now the SAVE Act is stupid too? ID to vote? I don't understand you at all, Renacci.
You know what's funny about that? I support the SAVE Act. I just said that the bill that passed in the House is not the SAVE Act.
Yeah.
And the SAVE Act should be passed. It should have money behind it to get it done. and it should be done in regular order. The SAVE Act that was passed, even as we heard Max Miller say, is not the SAVE Act.
Yeah.
So let's make sure. This is where listeners don't listen. This is where people. I notice sometimes people just don't listen. They hear what they want to hear. They don't hear the whole thing.
Right. And then someone else texted in and said, so Renacci is basically saying the vote is meaningless because there is no good candidate.
Well, what I'm saying is when the process is broken, the candidate selection gets broken too. So if you have good primaries and you have a good system where everybody can debate, then you have good elections. When the establishment picks the candidates, you don't have quality candidates in a lot of places. And by the way, Jake, here's the other problem. I talk to people all the time. You can't get good candidates to run.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to get candidates in the city of Wadsworth to run, and people are saying, no, I don't want that mudslinging. I don't want to be called names. Because what happens is as soon as you run, somebody calls you, Renacci's a tax cheat and liberal. And it's like when I first ran, where did that come from? Renacci didn't pay his taxes. No, I was a CPA. If I didn't pay my taxes, I wouldn't be able to keep my license.
Yeah.
But people start saying those things. People don't want to hear that. I mean, you got to have really thick skin, which, by the way, I do. I mean, when people call and say, Renacci, what is he? What do I know? Well, when it comes to tariffs, I sat through probably 100 hours worth of testimony. I mean, so, my 8 years in Washington did give me a little bit of background on policy. And that's what I believe is important. You got to listen first, but you got to listen to everything.
Yeah, no, I agree when it comes to the establishment picking the candidate, especially because obviously I was in it because I was part of the Bobby campaign in 24. But I mean, we paid very close attention, especially once we went independent. We paid very close attention to what was going on in the primary with the Republicans because there was none with the Democrat. And what did we do? We ripped them. We absolutely ripped them apart that they weren't giving, who was it? It was Marianne Williamson was one of the people running against Biden. They didn't give her a shot. They didn't give, Biden wasn't even doing debates. And we sat there and we ripped them apart. And here it is 2 years later. And the fact that the GOP in Ohio is doing the same thing. And the only person who really, luckily, somebody had enough money to maybe try to challenge. Obviously, it wasn't much of a challenge. He had 4 months. There wasn't much money raised. Talk about Casey Putsch. But, there was no debate. There was nothing like that. So the same things we complained about, and we went, this is ridiculous. Of course it's the liberals that are letting it happen. We turn around and we let it happen to ourselves because we got wrapped up, and I don't know if it was the celebrity of it. I don't know what it was, but I guess that party endorsement, it went a long way.
Sure. Well, look, in 2018, I lived it. I mean, I jump in the governor's race. I'm the only outsider. I'm picking up steam. I'm actually looks like I'm going to defeat Mike DeWine. Then I get a call from President Trump who says, hey, you got to change races. I never understood that until President Trump talked to me about a year later and says, Jim, I was asked to get you out of the governor's race and into the Senate race.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those people supported DeWine. I wish I would have never done it.
Right.
So the system behind closed doors is making things happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then we end up with DeWine for 8 years. The state goes nowhere. I mean, we're still anywhere between 36th and 49th and everything from education to jobs. But you'll always hear them put out this talking point, we're the greatest state in the world for jobs. Well, really? We've been losing jobs. I always chuckle. If you look at the statistics, I think we picked up about 100,000 jobs in the last 8 years.
Yeah.
And as much as we hated John Kasich, he was picking up 100,000 new private sector jobs every year.
That's crazy.
That's the difference.
And then, and I know, and I've, once again, a talking point that I've made, this is a Jake Underwood talking point. You have the party ones. This is my talking point. Just how important the independents are in the state of Ohio. So this is according to the Secretary of State numbers. This is from 2024. I'm going to round up. Basically, it's 72% are independent or unaffiliated, right around 20% are Republican, and then I think it's like 13% are Democrat. Now, that's 2 years ago, so it's probably changed a little bit, fluctuated within, here or there. But it's the independents that determine everything. I mean, Mike DeWine, that appeal that he had to the independent voter to be able to get them to cross, even the ones that lean left, He was able to get them to cross over and vote for him. That's huge. And personally, I think that's why he won the way that he did.
Well, in 2022, let's face it, he got 232,000 Democrats to cross over and only defeated me by 168,000. But that's history. I don't even like to talk about it anymore because that's the system we have to live with.
Yeah.
But it's a system you have to understand. Independents do make decisions. Let me give you a poll, and I know your listeners hate polls, but here's an interesting poll. Independents in Ohio, the majority lean Republican, except this year. The majority of independents do not support Republican policies and principles this year. It's like 62%. And the problem is, it's not the guy, they're not even paying attention to Ohio politics. Everything's coming from the top. They're mad about their gas prices. They're mad about and they've agreed, those 62% independents have said they're going to vote for a Democrat. That's the problem that Republicans need to start thinking about. How do we bring them back? Well, It's easy. Start talking about the issues that matter. Quit saying everything's okay. It's not okay. Gas prices are high. I mean, it cost me $100 to fill my truck up, over $120. Somebody, that's because you're paying premium gas. No. I used to pay $68. Now it's over $100.
Yeah.
I mean, in food, I mean, go buy a hamburger. Look at McDonald's. I mean, any of these fast foods. I remember when you used to be able to go get a full value meal for $6. Now it's $16. It's just amazing.
Yeah. I talk about it a lot with the $50. I used to put $50 in my gas tank. It'd last me the week. Now it's closer to 65, 70, right around there. I'm lucky enough. I drive my car gets like 50 miles to the gallon. It's pretty good. So I lucked out there. But the people that don't have that, maybe that $50 that they were spending on gas, now it is 80, 90, $100. Maybe they have to fill up twice now where it was one, it just all depends on but either way, it's getting more expensive and people are noticing it. This is the Jake Underwood Show. We're going to take a little bit early of a break because we have some people on hold. Is that EJ or is that supposed to be TJ, Seth? EJ. All right, so we're going to get to Jim and EJ as soon as we come back. That's Jim in West Park and EJ in Cleveland. We're going to take it is TJ.
Yeah.
Okay, TJ in Cleveland. We're going to get to your call as soon as we come back. This is the Jake Underwood Show.
On AM 1420, The Answer.
Welcome back to the Jake Underwood Show right here, AM 1420 The Answer, 102.9 FM. We're on X, Rumble, and YouTube. We're going to take some calls. Now, I'm gonna make sure I say this. I'm going to make sure that if the callers could try to make their point quickly, because we do have a few on hold here. I want to make sure, because we do have 10 minutes left, I want to make sure that they get their point out and that Mr. Renacci here, that he can respond to it, and then we can move on to the next caller. I want to make sure that we're good to go there. That's all. So I'm not saying be in and out, but be a little quick. That's all I'm asking. All right. Let's go to Jim in West Park. Jim, you are in the air.
It seems like the Republicans are just loaded with 150 excuses, and the Democrats interrupt and lie. So, I'm not a man with excuses. That's my point.
Okay.
I actually agree with Jim. I like Jim.
Yeah.
Excuses need to go away. Facts are important. Everybody should be talking facts. Democrats lie. Republicans have excuses. Boy, you just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, no.
Why don't we just talk about facts and boom, let's get this country moving in the right direction.
Yeah, no, well said. All right, let's go to TJ. TJ, you're in the air.
Yeah, Jim, first I want to say I felt bad for you in that election against Sherrod Brown because I know what happened. They talked you into running against him, and then the RNC turned their back on you. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Sherrod Brown outspend you like $23 million to $3 million?
Actually, $66 million to $6 million, and I only lost to him by 5.7%. But
right, so you definitely got screwed there. I can see that. But the only other thing I'm saying with these independents, I don't hear any solutions for high rent, housing. But, the Democrats are giving solutions. Yeah, rent control, price control, raising minimum wage sky high. Now, you and I know that's not going to work in the long run. But if these independents are swayed by their, tackling the problem, well, all I can say is there's no fix for stupid.
Well, you know what's
TJ, thank you for the call.
Yeah,
Go
appreciate that, TJ. And you know what? You're right, though. That's what's happening. Look, I've often said if we had an educated voting a group of electorate, the elections would be different. But a lot of people walk into the polls and they don't know anything. But you know what? I heard that guy say he's going to fix rents, and my rent's been going up 15% for the last 5 years. I'm going to vote for him.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even know who that he or she is, but it's a talking point. It's a winning talking point. And I 100% agree with you, TJ. You got to have people who listen. 80% of the people that walk into the voting booth do not even know who they're voting for, except for a talking point that they heard.
I'll go a little bit behind the curtain there when it comes to the talking points and things. So at the beginning stages of Maha, they wanted us to go after the vaccines right away. And I went, no. We are not touching the vaccines for the first 6 months. Not doing it. Because we have a lot of people that are against it right now. They think that's what we're going to do. We got to do the opposite. We have to focus on the things that everybody can agree on, get them on our side, then we can start to go after the vaccine stuff a little bit. Slowly but surely roll that out. So what did we focus on? Look at what we did in Utah, Arizona, West Virginia, Florida. We focused on the food dyes. Because when you say food dyes aren't healthy, that's going to click to people. They're going to go, oh, yeah, no, those aren't healthy. Oh, they're causing what diseases? Well, yeah, no, Bobby did the right thing there. Maha did the right thing there. So you start to get people on your side. And then once you have that support of the people, you kind of do whatever you want. And I know that sounds very shady and maybe not honest, but that is the way that it moves with politics. You have the people that are sitting there and maybe they want some things that aren't good in the long run. But they know in the short term they could go, well, yeah, we'll have one government-ran grocery store. We'll open that up in New York. You go there, you get your eggs, you get your 30% less. I don't know if you heard that yesterday. Mondani announced that 30% less than any other retailer.
They're going to love it.
Right. So what let me this is the question I would have for him. What stops a retailer from going there buying in bulk and then putting it on their shelves and charging more? Like it's the little things like that don't line up, but they are offering solutions to people's problems. Now, they're not ones that I necessarily agree with. I don't think, as TJ said, in the long term, it's going to work. But it's those quick little hitters that are going to get people on your side that make the difference.
Well, and again, the solution not only will not work, some of them not even legal. I mean, you can't force somebody to have rent freeze, all that stuff. So,
yeah.
But TJ's spot on. I say this all the time. All it takes is somebody saying, that guy is going to help me, and they go out and vote, and they're energized to vote.
Yeah. And
then you got the Republicans saying, you know what? Go back to the previous speaker. Oh, Republicans are just excuses. I'm not voting. That's what 2006 was. That was a landslide against Republicans. I'm hoping that doesn't occur in 2026, 20 years later.
So when you said the one talking point that it gets people to vote, a lot of people my age in 2020, well, Joe Biden said he's wiping out college debt. And I tell them, even Republicans that I knew, they're going, I mean, think about it, man. That's something that gets taken off of our credit report. We're going to be good to go. Then we can buy a house. Then we could start to then we could get a loan. That's where their mind starts going. And I go, he's not going to be able to do that. It's illegal. Like, he can't do it. Like, he said he can. He's going to be able to do it. I go, no, he can't.
You give him credit. He tried.
He did try. I'll give him that. But I knew right away. I go, he can't do that, because if you could just wipe out debt, every president ever would have done it. They would have found medical debt, it's all gone. Like, it's Oprah giving away cars, but it's just wiping away debt. So he wouldn't be able to, but it goes to that point of, well, they said they're going to do it. And you know what? That's something I need. And that's for I don't doubt it that for some voters, that's all they needed to hear. And they went, that's enough to help me. If everything else is a complete crap shoot, if that happens, then I'm good to go.
Yeah. Again, talking points are so important. Likability is so important.
Yeah.
The real problem is credibility. Character is not important anymore, and that's a real problem.
That's what rubs a lot of people the wrong way. I know a lot of people that, they worked for Turning Point at points in their lives, a few of them, and now they're like, you know what? Completely turned off from the Trump stuff. I can't stand it anymore. I'm sick and tired of hearing that we're winning when I can't find the job. Because the thing with my generation, and I try to explain this, and I don't know that people really understand it. We did what we were told to do by the people who came before us. We went to school. We went to college. We were told if we go to college, You go to college for something that's important. You're going to get a good paying job. You get a good paying job, then you get the home. You get the home, then you get the family. That's what we were told. And you have people that went to college, and, whether it was for computer science, because the thing I was always told, computers, that's going to be around forever. You need to get a job in technology because there's always going to be jobs in technology and Medicare and medical. Those are going to be the ones that will always have jobs. Told that religiously growing up. It's not the case. But you have people that take on thousands of dollars of debt, hundreds of thousands in some cases. And so they did what they were supposed to do. They went to school. But now the houses aren't lining up, or even the jobs not lining up. And I think that's where we're seeing the growing frustration.
Or the families.
Or the families.
Because the family's a costly venture now, and that's why our we're producing 1.2 kids per family now versus 3.6. I mean, that's also going to be a drag on the economy as years go on too.
And I see it time and time again, and I've seen it way too often. I was at I forgot who put the meeting on. It was 2 weeks ago, and they said that there were studies that they were looking at by 2030, AI is going to wipe out 36% of white collar jobs. Like, what are we supposed? This is my fear, and we got like 2 minutes left. But my fear is this: that it's going to lead to universal income, because it's going to wipe all the jobs out. We see it. It would only be a matter of time until it hits the white collar, because we've seen it. You walk into Meijer, you walk into Walmart. There's a bunch of self-serve registers. Oh. I walked into Meijer last night. They used to have 20 registers. Now they got 6, and the rest are self-checkout. So we've seen the technology take jobs away everywhere else. It was only a matter of time until it starts to happen to the white collar. And then what do we do?
Well, the real problem, and this is what I fear, AI, there are going to be a new series of jobs available after AI. But politicians are all looking at how do we make money in the next 5 years in AI, not how we protect the citizens in the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Nobody looks past their next election. I used to chuckle about that all the time. What's the most important thing? Your next election.
Yeah.
Not the next generation, not the next decade, your next election. That's always the problem.
Yeah. Well, Jim Renacci, thank you for coming in. Thank you to the callers and the texters. The callers were nice. Thank you. Look at that. I thought that was going to go bad, so I'm happy.
I think good people, they realize the problems we have.
Right. And I think for the most part, we all agree what the problems are. We just got different ways of getting there, and that's why we need to talk, have the discussions that we do. Thank you for letting us into your cars, your homes, your work. If you're at work right now, you're halfway through the day. Go get some lunch. You're almost done. Look at you. And tomorrow's Wednesday. We're going to speak to Donovan O'Neill from Americans for Prosperity, as well as Secretary Burgum, 9:05. We're going to have him right at the top of the show, Secretary of Interior. Tell someone about Jesus today. He loves you. Tell someone.